I like how the creditor is not like a guy with a jutted out jaw, like curb stomping her.
Shiva is like curb stomping, yeah.
It's just like a lady in thongs.
Yeah.
Which is equally intimidating, I would say.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Asian Blokes Podcast, a podcast where we talk about Asian pop culture, films, TV shows, comic books, anime, music, food, video games, whatever we're feeling at the time, really. My name is Dan with H. With me, as always, is my co-host, Thavy. What up, Thavy?
Yeah, same old, being busy, being not busy, being cold in winter. It's all right, But we got a pretty, stacked episode today, don't we? You
yes.
sent me a bunch of stuff.
We have a stacked episode. We'll talk a little bit about the Olympics, not too much. We're going to be talking about Squid Game 2 release date, a new trailer for Terminator ZERO, and I'm going to have a bit of a whinge about Deadpool and spoilers for Deadpool.
So is that part of your mini review as well? Deadpool? Because I've seen Deadpool as well.
I mean, I'm not really planning on talking about the movie at all. Just kind of like some of the discourse around the movie.
Yeah, fair.
But yeah, we do also have a mini review for Shake, Rattle and Roll, a Filipino horror movie. Before getting on to the main review of this episode, which is another Filipino movie called Third World Romance.
Wow, that's a very natural exposition dump there.
Yes. It's the news, Tavy. It's not meant to be natural. Speaking of which, you been watching any Olympics?
I have been watching the Olympics here and there. Yeah, I was sort of following the girl that won the BMX, Saya Sakakibara. Yeah, that's it, Sakakibara. Yeah, but yeah, no, she had a pretty interesting story going on. The news was doing kind of like a story about her and how she had a concussion and how her brother was in the same sports, but he was injured and he has been permanently injured, and how she was, because she's half Japanese, half Australian, and how she had a really big accident during Tokyo. But then, yeah, she absolutely killed it in Paris. I was watching, I think, the qualifying stage when she was going to semi-finals and stuff. And yeah, she destroyed the competition by a lot. And yeah, she won.
Good on her.
So good on her. Yeah, because sometimes I give a little, because as a creative, I give a little bit of shit to where the government spends their money, and I have said on the past that we just tend to focus on failed sports stars.
Sure.
But I will have to eat my words a little bit, because Australia is actually doing really well in the Olympics this year. So at least there is some reward for our reputation.
Australia has always been pretty decent at sports. I think part of that is to do with allocation of funds in a way. But I mean, that's not to detract from the personal achievements of these athletes, because they're sick cunts, really.
No, good on them. And it's I'm glad that they can put Australia onto the world stage.
Earn that gold, baby.
Yeah.
I've only watched the skateboarding so far. I'm planning on catching up.
I haven't seen the skateboarding.
Yeah, last year I just watched skateboarding and rock climbing. Those are the two sports that I generally tend to watch. Skateboarding was pretty exciting though.
Yeah.
A lot of Japanese skateboarders doing really well.
Japanese tend to do skateboarding pretty well. A lot of those newer sports like BMX and Saya, for example, she's Japanese.
I think X Games in general. I remember back in the 90s, those two rollerblading brothers. I forget their names, but there were these two Japanese brothers that just dominated inline skating for a long time. Apparently, they're still skating to this day. But
as the internet, no one actually really cares about these stories. It's all about wailing on the opening ceremony and how cool the gunners look.
They do look pretty cool. I've only seen two of them. There's the Turkish guy, right? That's kind of all over the internet.
Yeah, the Turkish guy and the South Korean lady.
Who looks like she's got a Dragon Ball Z power reader on her face.
Yeah. And I think there was a Chinese guy who's got a rifle and a skin tight suit or something, and it kind of looks a little bit like Deadpool as well. And the way he's holding, he's slanting his back, and it does look very cool.
Yeah,
it's funny because the way that I think the posture of how they aim their gun is they have their hand in their back pocket, and it looks like they're just like taking a casual shot, but it's actually to help the balance of the gun, really. But it just looks like they're just like, yeah, man, it's cool. And I'm not sure if this is a true story about why the Turkish guy was like joining the Olympics. I mean, one guy said like his basic motivation was he wanted to join the Olympics because he wanted to like win money to like see his kids, because he wanted to like have a go at his ex-wife or something,
okay.
Which I'm not sure if it's true, but it's kind of funny.
And if it is true, like, and if you are his ex-wife, then watch out, man. Maybe maybe invest in a bulletproof vest for yourself.
Yeah,
it probably wouldn't help. He appears to be a pretty good shot.
yeah, it's true. But it's pretty cool. It's funny how like, yeah, of course, like this can only really dawn on the age of the internet, just picking up on these like little things that are like, yeah,
meme
and then
humor.
Meme humor. Yeah.
But no, I've been enjoying what I've seen of the Olympics so far. And you're right, the discourse does tend to be shit talking how bad the organization is at Paris. But seems like people are having fun with it as well.
Yeah, I haven't really been paying attention to too much of that stuff.
I did see South Korea got mistakenly introduced as North Korea.
Oh yeah, I saw that as well.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. That's actually really bad.
Out of all the countries to mistake them for as well, they picked the worst one.
That's like, I think that's actually really bad, because you can say what you want about the opening ceremony and the Jesus symbolization, the Last Supper, but that being bastardized. Like, I'm not surprised, because like it's France, and France always has that like look about, the Moulin Rouge-esque, the burlesqueness of it.
And also that imagery predates the Last Supper as well. So
like, I don't give a shit about that. It's kind of like the conservatives are becoming the new like left-wing whingers now at this point. Just complaining like, man, like who cares? But mistaking, like, it is your job to fact check these things. Yeah. Like, North Korea and South Korea are very fucking different in its political, and you can't just be, they're the same thing. And they're not like a small country by any of the means, So, like, to fuck that up, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I think it's,
not great. But they have issued a formal apology and all that stuff, so whatever. Maybe we can move past it.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of moved past it, but it's still pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's like when, I think we've mentioned this before, like ages ago, when The Departed won, like, best screenplay or something. It's like, The Departed was based on the Japanese trilogy of Infernal Affairs. Yeah, you didn't remember, did you? Nah, and then, like, Martin Scorsese kind of had to rectify it in his speech. So it's like, yeah, we base these films up a little Hong Kong trilogy. It's just like, yeah. So he had to like fix it up. That's really bad as well. It's like, yeah. But Olympics is fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. Speaking of fun, Terminator ZERO got a trailer.
Oh yeah.
What do you reckon?
There's been a teaser and the real trailer. Yeah, it looks cool. I haven't been following the Terminator series for a while. I've never watched any of the TV series. I didn't watch Rise of the Machines.
You didn't? That's the third one, Rise of the Machines.
That's the third one.
Oh, you didn't watch that?
I didn't watch that one. I think when it came out, I was not too young, but I think my parents just never took me to the cinema to go watch it. So I never watched it, and I just heard mixed opinions about it and just never got around to watching it. Or
it's
maybe
not the worst Terminator 3 movie, I would say.
Yeah. But I didn't watch the Lee Byung-hun one, Genesis, and I didn't watch any of the TV series.
Sure.
So, like, I know enough about the lore from the first two movies.
Yeah, the future movies don't really add that much to the story of the first two.
Yeah.
I haven't watched Sarah Connor Chronicles, but apparently that adds a lot to the lore.
Yeah. I heard that was like, that one's all right.
People like that show, but it didn't really get a satisfying ending. So I'm not going to watch it.
Well, it was cancelled, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
But this trailer for this anime just looks like 1 and 2, really. But set in Japan, and it's kind of like, what if
Terminator was set in Japan?
What if Terminator was set in Japan and they had to protect Miles Dyson instead of Sarah Connor?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, it looks cool. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like pretty violent as well. And I'm excited because Production IG are doing the animation for it, and they did Jinwo, the Wolf Brigade. So they pull off that aesthetic really well.
Ghost in the Shell.
I think they... Ghost in the Shell, that's it.
Psycho Pass, so they've got form in like sci-fi, I guess. And kind of like that noir sci-fi look, I think. I think that's kind of what strikes me about this trailer is that, you know, like Terminator has kind of always been like a dirty kind of aesthetic, right? Like a gritty aesthetic, I would say. But this kind of looks a bit more slick and a bit more noir.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited. Like, I'll definitely watch it. Yeah, it looks cool.
I'm interested that one of the main credits in this trailer is Masashi Kudo, the artist behind Bleach.
Oh, yeah.
Or the animator, one of the main animators behind Bleach. Which is interesting, I found. Because, like, Timothy Oliphant plays a Terminator in this. So you would think they would credit him, but to credit the artist as well as the writer, it's an interesting move.
Maybe they're going back to, like, respecting auteurs again, you know? Which is cool.
It's interesting that they think that Kudo is a big enough draw card that people will recognize. And maybe he is, because a lot of people like Bleach. Especially a lot of Western anime viewers, I would say.
Yeah, people love Bleach. On a bit of a random tangent. You can edit this part out if it's too long.
Okay.
There's a new like Bleach fighter game coming out. It's called like Rebirth of Souls or whatever. And it's just like a typical like fighter. But I don't know. I was on the net playing some games with some mates the other night, and he was telling me about this new game and the new trailer for it and how it's in English and how it has like the most like complicated fighting system ever. And then I was listening to it, and because it's English dub, and the announcer's like saying all this shit, it's like, diminish your opponent's kampoki meter by using your zangen kotetsu action. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy saying? And it just sounded really funny. It just sounded like this guy's just making up words. What is that? Zankensoki. Do you know what zankensoki is?
I have no idea what zankensoki is.
I had to Google it, but it's like the Soul Reaper's 4 elements of battle, which is like magic, swordsmanship.
This kind of rings a bell.
Fist-to-fist combat, But it's just like, and he's explaining it, and they get this fucking bunkaku meter down or whatever. And then I'm looking in the comments, and then it's just people trying to decipher like what the game mechanics are. So it's like, okay, so I think what the guy's trying to say is, and then we're just going on this rant. Like every time I forgot what we were playing, but like when we were like about to shoot someone, get your zankensoki action on him, and it's like, you diminished his bunkaku meter or whatever. You should watch it. It's really funny. The gameplay looks cool, but it's because like we feel like the announcer is like, what the fuck? What am I saying? Because he's like got that kind of typical metal voice. You know, it sounded very like early 2000s, 90s metal voice, and it's just like saying all this random Japanese
I wonder how many takes it took for him to actually get it.
Because like he was like pronouncing it correctly, but it's just like he has an accent, and you can't really like take that away from it. So it just sounded really funny. It's very intense. Just look it up. It's called you can look it up after the recording, but I think it's called like Bleach Rebirth of Souls gameplay trailer.
All right.
Fucking zankensoki action, man.
That's anime for you though. I haven't told you this, but if we had more time to do more YouTube podcasting stuff, one of my ideas for a series is to just dive like right into a shonen anime without having watched any of the previous episodes and just try to decipher what the fuck is going on. Just like watching anime out of context, you know?
Like I haven't watched Jujutsu Kaisen yet. So I can give that a go at some point.
The last shonen anime that I've actually watched fully is One Piece, and I'm really far behind on that show. So.
For me, it would be Chainsaw Man, which I haven't even finished watching the series. I've just read. Like,
I don't think Chainsaw Man is that complicated, but things like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, maybe Jujutsu Kaisen, just kind of like you know those kinds of animes where the worlds are just like just so rich in nonsense words.
In law, we should say. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to do that.
Maybe we can give that a new segment. Yeah.
But no, Terminator Zero looks pretty good.
Yeah, Terminator Zero.
Looks like a bit of fun.
Good.
I'm looking forward to it. It comes out pretty soon as well, August 20-something.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't come out for a while though, Squid Game 2 recently got a release date. So December 26th, it will premiere on Netflix.
Oh, the day after Christmas. So you're supposed to get blind drunk, eat lots of turkey or whatever you do, and then spend the next Boxing Day just binging.
Yeah, I would say it's maybe one of the best days for a show about capitalism to air.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm interested. When I heard this announcement, well, what really drew me more so is that he definitively said that the third season, which is coming out in 2025, is the last season. So it's like, all right, there's going to be like not overstaying its welcome style of things. Okay. It's just like, it's going to finish. He's got a plan. It's been 3 years since the first Squid Game, which obviously took the world by storm. But somehow I think, in a way, is sort of an underrated series in a sense that I don't think people really understand like how actually good Squid Game was. Sure. When I think about it in hindsight, Squid Game is good for me because it has that kind of Korean flavor that is not that prominent in a lot of, I guess, what takes the mainstream, that Korean weirdness, which I really enjoy. And it's brought to light some like, some really good actors that, I was introduced to, of course, Lee Jung-jae, who dies in the Star Wars show that I've already forgotten. An Acolyte.
Got him that role, Thavy, probably.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you've done so well. We get to kill you in Acolyte. Yeah, just like Madon. So we get to kill you in the Eternals.
Yeah, that's how you know you've made it as a Korean actor, when you're killed off on a Disney thing.
Yeah. Bae Doona she gets killed in Rebel Moon or whatever. That's not Disney.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway.
That got a director's cut that quietly dropped this week.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about it. It's not even in the top 10. It's weird.
Yeah. People are over it. But yeah, introduced us to like Jung Ho-yeon, who hasn't done too much stuff, but she's been in a lot of music videos.
She did that Weekend music video off the back of that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Weekend music video.
Of course, like Lee Yu-mi, who I think is still like an underrated actress because she does a lot of very intense roles, but I don't think, she's won the Emmy for like outstanding supporting, but I guess like a lot of her roles seem to be not the best. I've had my gripes with, was it Strong Girl, Namsoon?
Oh, yeah.
Which I both thoroughly enjoyed, but also despised at the same time. It's just a weird series. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to seeing what Squid Game comes up with. Whether the quality or not is going to be good, I don't know, because he had much less time to work on a script, but I'm assuming because it took 3 years, Hwang Dong-hyuk probably would have had the time to work on this. So, I hope it's good. And I'd like to see where it goes and finishes.
Yeah, I think it's definitely encouraging that they have the second and final season coming out pretty close together, which means... there'll
probably be a spin-off.
They've planned it a bit. Oh yeah, there definitely will be a spin-off if this is
successful enough. There'll be an
spin-off, American remake, all that stuff. Yeah,
they already did the American remake, right? It's like the Squid Game reality show.
Is that what you're talking about, Thavy?
The real life Squid Game. Oh man.
You're talking to me about this just before we started recording.
That's another fucking bundle of worms.
It's pretty interesting. So apparently Mr. Beast is under some fire at the moment, right?
Yeah, despite like leaving aside the allegations of his affiliations and his alleged promotion of gambling and illegal sweepstakes.
Which is nothing new as well.
Which is nothing new. But yeah, a lot of people have come out about how bad the Squid Game Mr. Beast, I was going to say remake.
No. Basically, he did a real life Squid Game, right?
A real life Squid Game.
Without the murder.
Without the murder, but almost murder. Yeah. So it's pretty, that guy, man, he's had a tough month. Which is, I don't know whether I should feel sympathy for him. Because like
I think we'll have to wait to see how the how the internet favor goes. If he gets cancelled, then we never liked him. If he redeems himself somehow, then good on you, man.
I mean, I don't think I ever liked him naturally.
Nah,
like
I haven't watched any of his content, to be honest.
It's like him as a person. Like I think other people have said this. I know nothing about Mr. Beast as a person.
You're right. He's almost like, when I see pictures of him, he seems like a bit of an empty shell of a person.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like...
He's a walking advertisement.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
He's always trying to sell me something. The fact that I typed in Hwan Dong-hyuk on Google and then I scrolled down, I see Mr. Beast's like soy face promoting his Squid Game thing. It's like, man... The guy is just like the epitome of modern day capitalism, right?
He's like the Fallout, whatever his name is, mascot guy, the Pit Boy guy. He's just kind of everywhere. He's in your face, and like you kind of ignore him to a point, but he's always in your subconscious.
Well, we're obviously not the target audience. Like, it's kids. I've never liked Mr. Beast as a brand, but him as a person, I can't even say because I don't know. Like, I don't know who Jimmy is.
Sure.
That's his real name.
He's like the Hot Wings guy as well. Hot Wings guy is a bit like that.
Yeah. But, no, man, Squid Game 2. Maybe they'll make a reference to Mr. Beast somehow. Maybe he'll be a contestant. That would be cool if he was actually a contestant and is just, like, constantly, like, selling you shit. It wouldn't actually be cool, but it'd be funny.
Just gets shot in the head at some
He
point.
just gets shot. I've just been shot in the Squid Game. See how that happened. And then he's like trying to sell his Feastables as he's dying. It's like, oh, buy these Feastables.
Bang!
And if you scan the QR code, you get a chance at
Bang, bang, bang.
And then like Lee Jung-jae's characters, I don't know what the fuck they're saying. I don't speak English. And it's like, you can also buy them in bulk online. Ugh. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And he dies with that, like, that soy face on his lip. Like, he's got
And that's the thumbnail. How I died on Squid Game. 100 billion views or whatever.
It's the way to get the kid audience. Yeah.
All right, let's stop talking about Squid Game.
We didn't even talk about Squid Game. We talked about Mr. Beast. But you want to have a little bit of a whinge.
We're going to have a big whinge, Thavy. You ready for a big whinge?
There you go. I'm ready for the big whinge. Let's do it.
So if you haven't watched Deadpool, by the way, and if you don't want any... I'm not going to drop spoilers, really, because this is what my big whinge is about. It's about spoilers.
Yeah, so you're kind of like playing into what you're complaining about.
Yeah, so I won't be dropping spoilers, but if you understandably want to go into the movie, you know, fresh and are not knowing of anything, maybe skip ahead to the next section. But yeah, spoilers are getting out of hand, Tavy. So Deadpool 3, at time of recording, has been out for maybe 2 weeks now, I think.
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
Yeah, you've seen it. You watched it last week.
Yeah, I watched it last week. Yeah.
I watched it almost as soon as it came out, maybe a few days after it came out.
Because you couldn't handle the spoilers.
Exactly.
Oh,
and this is what I want to complain about is
It's fair, yeah.
I don't like the feeling of the movie is almost held hostage by the fear of it getting spoiled. So like this movie, I really felt pressure to have to watch it really quickly because every time I open up my phone,
because they got to get their fucking opening box office. That's what's important.
And that's what I think. It's really, I think it's intentional in this case as well, because like. This is not really new. Like, internet spoilers has been a thing for a long time, like, even back in the days of Game of Thrones, right? Like, as soon as the episode came out, you know, people would post stuff online that are just, like, full-on spoilers. And I understand that it's the internet. You can't really police that. You can't really control that. I still think it's not a good thing to do, but, you know, people are going to be people. You can't really stop that from happening. But what I take umbrage about is when the company that's making the movie is actively spoiling the movie. So during Comic-Con, right? This is like maybe a few days after the American release of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
They just brought all the cameos out onto the stage, Thavy. You know the cameos I'm talking about. I'm not going to say them here because I don't want to spoil the movie for anyone. But they just brought them out on stage and like, here they are. These are the people that are going to be in the movie.
Oh, really? Even like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, even that one.
I mean, like, it is It was after the American release, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's only one country in the entire planet, right? It's just America.
But even then, it's only a few days after the American release as well.
Well, it's your fault for not having watched it.
And that's what I
you're
mean.
Not a real
it's
Marvel
like
fan.
it's like they're trying to, because like the state of cinema as it is now, it's like there's only a certain kind of movie that people are going to watch in cinemas these days.
En masse. Yeah.
Yeah, because like things go on streaming so quickly. People have been conditioned to think, you know, it's just going to be on streaming soon. So I'll just skip it if I'm not that interested. So the only movies that people are turning up for the cinemas for are like kids movies, because parents need something to keep their kids occupied with. There are movies like Barbie, which are just like, I think Barbie and Oppenheimer is kind of like a once-off thing where, those two movies
it was just
kind
luck.
of...
It was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. But then there's also the third category of movies, which are movies that people just spoil immediately. So if you wait for it to come on streaming, you will have seen all the spoilers by then. It's the type of movies that like kind of need like the surprise factor for a lot of the enjoyment. Like I know you weren't that bothered about spoilers, and you luckily didn't encounter any spoilers for Deadpool. But I knew like this is a type of movie where there'd be cameos, and it's kind of like a Multiverse of Madness situation or a Spider-Man No Way Home situation. It's like a big part of the enjoyment is being surprised by the cameos, you know?
Yeah.
So like when like I luckily managed to avoid the majority of spoilers, except for the stuff that they happen to show in the trailers themselves. But I would have been so upset if I stumbled across like this Comic-Con, you know, situation where they just bring out like pretty much the only like big surprising cameos in the movie.
Yeah.
It's almost like the company is saying like you have to watch it like straight away, otherwise we're gonna spoil it for you, and that's gonna be your fault at that point, you know. So it's like trying to increase that immediate box office push, which is kind of like understandable given the state of cinema, but also very reprehensible in my eyes. Because it's like,
that's fair. Like I'm not a big fan of spoiler culture either. Like I had Shogun spoiled for me. Like I hadn't watched it for a long time. And they talked about like how one of the key characters dies at the end. And I was like, oh, well, fuck me, you know. But I still enjoyed Shogun a lot. Because I think my feed doesn't tend to gravitate to that much Marvel stuff. So I didn't know. I knew there was going to be cameos, but I didn't know that these were going to be cameoed in the movie. And I was like, I genuinely enjoyed all the cameos. I mean, with the Deadpool movies in general, I really enjoy them on the first viewing. But then whenever I've watched them again, I'm like, it's okay. Like my issue with all this cameo reliant plot device is that it really, really dates a movie. For example, I really enjoyed No Way Home. And then when I watched it again, it's like, it's fine. Like
it is kind of something that only works once and only kind of works in the theater as well. Because if you watch Spider-Man No Way Home again on streaming at your home, there are noticeable pauses after certain characters appear. And the pauses deliberately left for audiences to applaud,
audience interaction.
Right?
Yeah. I don't mind that, to be honest.
But like when you're watching it alone, it's just really weird.
It feels weird. Yeah. It's like when movies were making the jump from 3D and then the characters would be obnoxiously throwing things towards the camera. Luckily, that trend has died. But these movies are designed to be watched in a theater. And they're definitely designed to get that immediate box office, like to capitalize on the moment as soon as possible and as quick as possible. Because, I mean, at this point in time, Deadpool and Wolverine is the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time. And it's only going to keep getting bigger because it hasn't, it's only been a couple of weeks. You know, people are still going to come out and watch it. And, like, people get caught in the buzz and, like, super Marvel fans will watch it more than once.
I mean, that's kind of why I'm annoyed as well, is because it works as well. Like this kind of tactic, it fucking works.
You've lost the system against the corporation.
Exactly.
They
and
took
like
your money.
I
they
get
took
it.
your money.
You got to make money. You got to do what works marketing wise. But it's fucking annoying, man. When is the actual company doing it? Like we talked about this during The Boy and the Heron episode that we did, how Miyazaki just did no marketing for that movie, like zero marketing. And at the time, I was like, oh, it's such a fucking Miyazaki power play, like he's taking jobs away from honest marketeers, but now I have so much respect for that, like that, because that in itself is marketing. And also, he's just banking on the quality of his product, putting butts in seats, which is what art should do generally, is just be a good thing that people will want to watch, not because they feel pressured to watch it immediately, but because they're excited about it and because they think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Deadpool and Wolverine. I enjoyed like their chemistry and their tips that they had. There's a particular fight scene in a Honda Odyssey, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'd say like outside of the cameos, it's genuinely a fun movie and a good movie. And that would have been enough for me to watch it pretty quickly after its release. Maybe not immediately after its release, but pretty soon after its release. I would have seen this in theaters regardless of the ticking clock that they put on me.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Well, to go on to another apparently long-running series, and to tie into the main review of today. I mean, we've been recording for like 40 minutes at the moment at this time, so it's like, damn. Well, hopefully you guys stick with us because we've been more self-indulgent in our podcast as we've gone along through the years.
People love it, Thavy. They love it. They like news.
Yeah.
I'll put time codes in it, so you can jump around if you don't like it.
Yeah. But no, we're taking a trip back to the Philippines. So I was watching a Filipino anthology horror, Shake, Rattle, and Roll Extreme. I watched the first two stories with Risky because we were just hanging out and eating KFC. And it was just one of those days. But like apparently this has been a long-running anthology horror since the 80s in the Philippines, which I was not aware of until I did a little bit of digging. But this is my only exposure to this series so far. And it's a mixed bag. There's 3 stories. 2 of them are good. Like one of them is a typical like zombie sadness story. Another one I think is about like these influencers who go to a house and they come across like this demonic shit. But a lot of them are very like vain, and it's quite funny to watch them be just super Gen Z, I suppose. And probably the first one is the weakest one, which is just a generic like goat demon haunted house story. Okay. Which didn't set a good example at first is what to expect because it looked very cheap looking.
But you powered through.
Yeah, I think it progressively gets better. The zombie one is probably like the best looking one because there's a lot of extras and there's a lot of like blood and gore in it. And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty impressive.
Do they all have the one director?
No, they're all different directors. They're different crew and different casts for each one. But like overall, I think as we powered through, like it got a bit better for me in terms of its quality. And impressive that this is probably made like these are like low budget movies. So there's a lot wrong on its technical level. Like Risky and I noticed that there was like a lot of sound peaking when actors were like yelling. And you can kind of hear it, and I think they tried to fix it, but it is quite noticeable. And that's just like having the soundie not reading the script before going onto the set, because you kind of got to plan for when if you know an actor is going to start yelling, that's when you got to start dialing down the gains and whatever. But overall, I think it was quite an enjoyable experience. It's something you can kind of turn your brain off to, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I'd never seen this series before, and maybe I might try to seek some more of them out because I'm a big fan of horror anthology. It's kind of my guilty pleasure at points. I think I mentioned I like the VHS series, which is probably the more like prominent like found footage anthology horror. And I think because they're in these like shorter snippets with lower budgets, they can take more risks especially in terms of its violence. It's quite fun to watch.
Oh, it's pretty violent,
these
is
actors
it?
And yeah, they're all pretty violent. Yeah.
Okay.
I think the favorite one is the second story about the influencers. I think that one's called like Mukbang. And there's some pretty like it's very silly, but there's also some parts that can make you a bit queasy if you are not familiar with that kind of theme, which I won't explain here. But no, it's a good time. If you have a group of friends and you have a couple of drinks and you've got like some greasy ass food, just watch it. It's good. I think overall it's a good time.
How would you say the Filipino horror aesthetic compares to other Asian horror? Can you see inspirations here and there, or
how would I describe it? Southeast Asia has a certain look, which I actually will get into the main review. But I think the first one is definitely like a Raimi inspired story, just with much, I guess, worse cinematography. It looks like a student film.
Yeah.
The second one, it kind of upgrades itself a little bit, but it kind of looks more like a comedy horror. Maybe if I was to compare it, it'd be along the lines of like maybe a Shaun of the Dead, but like not really thematically. It's funny. But then the third one plays it straight the most, where it is pretty much that like action horror, like 28 Days Later. Like there's a lot of shotgunning and a lot of like chopping off limbs and stuff. Yeah. It's quite fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems like you're making a lot of Western comparisons, right?
Yeah. It's not really, I wouldn't say it's particularly Asia-centric. Like there's no references to like local culture and stuff. It's quite schlocky, I would say. Okay. So it is definitely like Western influence, yeah. But overall, I think it's fun. It's worth a watch.
Okay.
Yeah, if you got the time. Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, shall we move it along?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk about another Filipino movie. So this is Third World Romance, starring Carlo Aquino and Charlie Dizon. So this was released theatrically last year in August, but recently released on Netflix. So it's about a year old at this point.
Yeah, pretty simple plot. Yeah, real life couple Carlo Aquino and Charlie Dizon. So they're married, I believe.
Yes, they're married in real life, not in this movie.
Yeah, but in the movie they're both like lower class, and they kind of like looking out for each other, and they fall in love. But it's mostly about a lot of the themes are dealing with like modern capitalism, I guess, and how
being poor during the pandemic.
Being poor during the pandemic. But I think this is a very nice movie. I think this movie is like a really good balance of entertaining chemistry and fun to watch, but then also delving into some real life stuff that can be a bit too close to home for some people at some points.
Yeah. I mean, like pandemic films were kind of all the rage at a point, from 2020 to 2022, maybe. A lot of COVID productions about the pandemic. Typically, I tended to avoid them because it's kind of like, I always felt that it's kind of like capitalizing on something that's a bit too real, maybe. And just kind of like a hot button issue. But I really enjoyed this movie. I think, at its core, it is just a nice romance story that happens to be set during the pandemic in the Philippines. And I mean, you don't really get to see, unless you're actively looking for that information or people from that area, you don't really hear about how other countries are handling the pandemic or what it's actually like living during the pandemic in certain countries. So it's kind of cool to see what I assume is a realistic portrayal of what life was like in the Philippines during the pandemic. Because this story does feel pretty grounded. Yeah.
No, I also really enjoyed this movie as well. I'd stumbled across this trailer. I think YouTube just recommended it to me, and you and I have both covered another Charlie Dizon project, Fangirl. Luckily here, she's playing an age-appropriate character, and I feel less guilty watching it. I'm not going to go to jail this time. But no, this movie kind of reminds me a little bit of an older Hong Kong movie, Comrades, almost a love story. It's got the very famous Maggie Cheung in it. Yeah, and it's a very similar plot, just like two people from kind of like slightly poorer backgrounds, I think, and they kind of get together. But yeah, what I really liked about this movie is obviously the chemistry between Charlie Dizon and Carla Aquino.
You got those real life sparks, baby.
It's very like they play off each other so well, and much of the enjoyment is watching these two characters interact with each other with a lot of like you could probably say as not plot contrived, but it's definitely something that can only happen in a movie, but it feels quite real and it's really fun to watch. But what is also really good about this movie is the cinematography. Like a lot of these shots are very considered. There's a lot of shots where they're long shots, like master shots, where you can see the actors, but then you can see their environment that they're in.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of long tracking shots, long takes, but it's never really like super obnoxious about it. Like there's points where they'll edit a little bit, like a insert shot or whatever. So it's not like they're not marketing on this is a one take shot, you know. It's like, it just felt natural to keep it going for a while.
It's not overly artsy, but at the same time, it kind of is when you think about it. It's not really in your face. Like there's a scene where they have a bit of a falling out in a supermarket, right? And she's kind of like trailing behind him as he's walking through the supermarket, ignoring her. And it's a wanna. It's like the whole scene is a wanna. But you don't really notice it because you're kind of like fixated on the dialogue and what's happening at that point in the story.
No, I think that's a great scene. Yeah, and I think like this kind of movie actually has like potential to be like Asian blockbuster, because I think this is a great movie that balances between like, I guess, what people think the international art house is, but it's also like very fun as well.
I think narratively, it's very like easy to digest, right?
Exactly.
Which makes the whole movie, even though it is quite artsy at times, it makes the whole movie experience very easy to digest. Like it's kind of got a similar vibe to a Korean drama or romantic movie, but I feel like this is, for me anyway, it's a lot easier for me to get through this kind of movie. Because it's kind of less dramatic.
There's no slow-mo. There's no like picking up on the same thing, and then the soundtrack comes in. The
and the story itself is a lot more grounded as well. You know, there's not like overly melodramatic moments, and like the story feels like it's something that could really happen. Like the drama it feels very organic. The characters, they feel really real, I guess. And like you said, you've got the real life chemistry of the two leads working definitely in your favor. I wonder whether their relationship in real life is similar to the relationship of the characters in this movie. So
maybe.
Charlie Dizon plays a character named Brittany Gatmaitan, which I find a really fun name to say. But she is kind of a down on her luck individual looking for work during the pandemic, which is obviously difficult. She has a mother that at the start of the movie lives in Oman, and she's trying to save up enough money to get her mum to come back home, which leads her to Aquino's character, which is Alvin. So Alvin is kind of a bit more laid back than Brittany. His goal in life is just to be happy, as he says.
To be happy,
Yeah. So, you know, it kind of mirrors a lot of real life couples, I would say, where, not to generalize, but yes to generalize, the female of the couple tends to be a bit more worried about the future, you know, more into planning. Whereas the male in the couple is generally more laid back and not really considering the future, but just kind of wants immediate happiness, I guess. So to me, like these two characters, they feel like they probably are similar to Dizon and Aquino's relationship in real life.
I mean, you and I, we're not super familiar with the Filipino celebrity scene.
This is the second movie we're covering, second Filipino movie we're covering on this podcast, and the second Filipino movie that I've seen, period.
So I'm not sure how famous Charlie Dizon and Carlo Aquino are, but I'm assuming that they are probably pretty famous.
Judging from the number of views on our fangirl short that has popped up recently, and thank you everyone that watched that and gave it some love, by the way. I think Charlie Dizon is quite popular in the Philippines.
But I'd assume that there would have been a lot of work with the director. I'm going to try to pronounce his name, Dwein Baltazar. Sorry if I've said that wrong. But definitely would have been a lot of discussion between the balance of putting your own personality into the characters, but also keeping it a character itself. I guess like there's not really much criticism I actually have for this movie. There was only like two things. Like some of the music choices I didn't like, but that's just tastes of mine. That's just personal tastes. And there's one bit, even though I really enjoyed it, it definitely makes it feel like, I'm watching a movie, which is not necessarily like a bad thing, but my cynical part of me would be like, this can only happen in a movie. But the really good thing about this movie, as grounded as it is, I think the enjoyability is that balance between, you're watching a movie, so it's fun, but it does like touch on some things that, you know, people in the lower class would struggle like in a pandemic situation. There's definitely some characters in this, or one character that definitely gets under your skin. And a certain situation, there's a boss character, because they both end up working in the same grocery store, supermarket. And this one boss character who is just like, he really gets under your skin, because there's a certain plot point where like it's his birthday and he's like making his employees like celebrate his birthday, and he's like kind of bullying,
forcing them to chip in for snacks,
forcing them to chip in.
Then he sends Alvin to go buy the snacks, and he has a big sook when he doesn't get the one that he wants.
And this is only played up in a movie, right? But there's definitely people like that, especially just from some work experiences that I've seen. It's like, this is not far from the truth, which is unfortunate. It's that mentality of you being that kid that was probably bullied, and then now you have a power trip and you've gone completely the other way, where you can now just boss other people around.
And that's not even the worst thing that character does, but it is fucking annoying when he does that.
I mean, I guess that would be like the spoiler part, because I do really want to like talk about that scene, which is like, I think, it's a scene that really like hits pretty hard. And it's like, this happens too much in real life, where it can be sort of like, not a horror movie, but it's just like, damn, man. It actually kind of makes these kind of movies where this real life shit, to me, is almost like harder to watch than like a horror movie, because a horror movie is sort of super elevated to this point where it's just like, it's super unbelievable.
It's unreality, right? Whereas
this one is just like, oh man, it's like, that's rough. But I'll talk a bit more about that scene later.
But I think like another strength of this film is that it is quite a Filipino story, but it could be set anywhere, really. These struggles are something that almost everybody, or anybody in the lower middle class, can relate to. That in itself lends this movie to getting quite a large audience as well. The aesthetics of it are very easy to digest as well. It's not something that's like, you need to be very used to a particular brand of cinema to enjoy it. It's just something that, you know, if you've seen any romantic movie, you could enjoy this movie.
I mean, this movie is not really, you wouldn't call this a rom-com, right? It has like comedic elements.
It's one of those ones that's kind of harder to define, because it is funny at points. It is obviously thought-provoking, and it can get pretty like grim at sometimes as well. I think overall, though, it is a pretty light-hearted film.
I think so. I think it's a very easy movie to watch, because a lot of people know that rom-coms are not my favorite genre of film.
But the jokes aren't like those jokes. They're not like
there's not a super annoying. But the thing is, like, there is that kind of and that would be in the characters of Alvin's family, who are like mostly LGBTQ, but it feels very genuine. They're all very like hyperactive, and they're very much that what you'd expect from maybe like a Southeast Asian effeminate like family. But they're so lovable, you know? And a lot of the stuff that they say in their interactions with Alvin, I laugh because it feels like real, you know? Whereas sometimes in a rom-com, there's just this random character that follows the girl boss and just makes wacky jokes. And it's just like, that's not funny. That's just like annoying.
It's
like,
a bit more like tokenized.
Whereas this one, like, it feels like that's a real family, you know? That there's a history behind, like, how these people are acting. And I mean, it's like it's really cute when he like brings like Brittany home for the first time, and they pretend to be kind of wary about her, then they're just like really accepting, because that's honestly what like most Asian families would act like. They'd be like super excited, you know? And I really enjoyed it, and just watching them eat like all the Filipino food, like, oh man, like I don't eat adobo that much, but I think it's very similar to a dish that we have called tomkem, or palo, which you and I really like.
I've got a pot of palo on the stove right now, Thavy.
Oh, goddamn, I got nothing. I haven't had lunch yet, so I need to eat something later.
Food in Asian movies generally, it looks good.
The really cute moment was when like Brittany says like, you know, I want to go eat Korean barbecue, and Alvin's like, that's fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Well, not verbatim, he didn't say it that way, but like then he like takes her outside to like a bench that's near the Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
And there's like a really like nice shot where they are kind of on the outside, but the shot is on the inside. The focus is on them, but they're in kind of like a long shot, like a almost extreme wide shot,
Sure.
where it's like in the foreground, it's just some rich guys like eating barbecue, and they're kind of just there, and they're just having their own like barbecue.
It's like
And I
they're
thought
part
that's just
of the restaurant, but they are on the outside of the restaurant, looking in.
And it was just really nice. Like, it's just a simple, like, plot-wise, they're not doing that much. They're just eating Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
But it's
Which is too expensive, by the way, for what it is. I agree.
yeah.
Dropped fucking $350 last night on barbecue, Thavy.
That's Japanese barbecue, though. Man.
Yeah, that's true. It's a bit more expensive than Korean barbecue.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether you want to argue about that, it's like, oh, Japanese barbecue's high.
You pay for that Wagyu, Thavy, for that marbling.
Yeah. But no, there's like a lot of the even like the meet cute at the start, where she, you know, takes shelter under Alvin's umbrella. Like, it's something that can only like really happen in a movie. If someone had done that to me and they don't look as good as fucking Charlie Dizon, it's like, what are you doing? Like,
nah, you'd be a nice guy about it, Thavy. You'd share your umbrella in that situation, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But if you think about that scene, right?
Yeah,
Imagine if that scene had have played out in a Korean movie. What do you think the main difference would be, Thavy?
It'd be like, it would have been like that super pale, glowing look.
Yeah,
It would have been slow-mo. They would have looked each other in the eye.
Which I know that aesthetic has its audience. Obviously, it does have its audience as well. But my personal taste is a bit more on the subtler side, I guess, which is this movie. I would say this is a more subtle approach to a story that is pretty similar to a K-drama. Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to talk about, I think I was talking about this during Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Like, the Southeast Asian look is pretty specific, and I really like it.
You mean the color palette and things?
Yeah, the color grading and just the way things are shot. It's like, I can't quite describe it, but I've noticed it. Like, I noticed it a little bit in Lanma.
I would call it moist.
Because I think it's moist fucking humid. It is, but it's quite like naturalistic looking, but it's also, it looks very high quality. And I wonder how they've captured this look. It feels very organic, and a lot of these shots are done outside with long takes. So I wonder if, like, sometimes there's usually like a grip or a like assistant gaffer who's carrying like a light and just following the actors. Oh shit, get in the position, quick, or whatever. But I wonder how they've done it. And yeah, I noticed a lot in Lanma.
It's pretty interesting, huh? Because we did a movie called Hunger a while ago now that is also set in Thailand, but it doesn't have the same look as I
think that's more of a thriller. But a lot of these like drama centric indie movies have this like specific Southeast Asian look.
I can kind of see it being replicated in some Western works as well. Like, I've only seen the trailer, but Didi kind of looks like this.
Yeah. I think it's an Asian thing, right? Like Asians tend to like this look. I mean, I like this look.
Yeah,
I'm Asian, maybe. Am I? Who knows?
But we've been living a lie, Thavy.
But it's moist, and it's kind of like, I can't describe like just looking at the colors.
It's a little on the green side, I would say.
I guess it's the Asian
which
cinema look.
Historically is kind of like steered away from in Western cinema, right? The green
because it's supposed to be like sickness, but like Asians like it, and I think that stems from like earlier, like, you know, Wong Kar-wai stuff. Everything goes back to Wong Kar-wai, but it's also like a lot of these like Taiwanese cinema look. So there's definitely an evolution in terms of the Asian cinema look.
Yeah. I really like how much stuff is going on in the background of these exterior shots. Like a lot of production design, like naturalistic production design. It feels like they haven't really put any props in there, but there's so much in it. Like, just as they're walking through the streets, there's like obviously a lot of plants and a lot of shops, like a lot of cars and stuff going on. Probably pretty hard to manage from like a set direction point of view.
Yeah. That's like, I think that's the beauty of this kind of movie, is that you wouldn't really notice how much work goes into making stuff like this look real. And I know I've given Hollywood a lot of shit for this, and I probably still would. But it's the the shot reverse shot that I'm always talking about, where you can easily just like, oh, I don't like the performance, bring him back and chuck him in front of a green screen, and it's just like it just looks dull as fuck, and it's got that enough shallow depth of field, but it's not actually adding anything. It's just like we just need to get this information out there. Whereas this movie, there's a couple of times where it's shot reverse shot, but because the world is so rich that it doesn't feel like it's inorganic. And like, yeah, sure, this world is grounded in reality, right? So it's a lot easier to make your world look real if you are working within the confines of like a grounded world.
Sure.
But also, this is, I mean, probably by a Hollywood standard, an indie film, where it's like you're spending millions of bucks, and like when your stuff like kind of looks like shit, and you kind of condition people to get used to this kind of filming. It's like, oh, yeah.
A little bit of realism goes a long way. Like, there's nothing to say that the fucking quantum realm can't look like the Philippines, you know? It's fine. It's a made-up world. It doesn't have to be all CG. It can be, some of it can be real.
Sometimes it's just cheaper. It's cheaper for Marvel to just afford CG.
That volume technology. They got to use it. They made it, haven't they, Thavy? So they got to use it, I guess. Every opportunity that they get. But no, you're absolutely right. Like, I really noticed it this week. I was trying to make a thumbnail for Lan Ma, right? And I found it really hard to settle on a picture to use for the thumbnail, because every fucking frame of that movie looks beautiful.
It does. Yeah.
Especially the exterior shots. I think I did end up settling on an exterior shot because it just looks so good. Like a little peek behind the curtain, but YouTube thumbnails, typically the ones that get clicked on the most are ones that have big faces of people in them. But
Mr. Beast's face.
Yeah. So like a close-up of a character, a character's face, for example. But I just couldn't, in good conscience, use that for the thumbnail for that movie, because like the exterior wide shots are just so nice to look at. That
fuck that, man. Fuck having to use that thumbnail. I hate that so much. That this is we've kind of had to evolve into having to do that kind of. I won't go into
that's
too
why
much.
I handle all that, Thavy. That's why I take it out of your hands. I know it makes you upset.
I'm just like, no, fuck that.
But bringing that back to this movie, to Third World Romance, it's like, not just the exterior shots, but even like the interior shots, like the scene that we talked about in the supermarket. Any scene that's set in that supermarket, it's very natural, but probably very meticulously designed as well.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole movie experience feel very natural.
Yeah. And this is like going into the supermarket and just the cult of working. Like there's a very particular moment where they had to do like a greeting, and then Alvin like teaches Brittany how to do it. And it's just like that commentary on you just sort of developing like this cult-like persona to greet like customers and stuff.
Or to introduce your podcast.
Like I think there's a balance of doing your job respectfully and doing it with some dignity. Because sometimes if you go into a grocery store or like a restaurant and someone treats you like shit, then it's like, what the fuck, man? Like you get it as well. But then there's also an element of like when you go in and it's almost like insincere cultishness of them greeting you. It's like, yeah, man, it's like, it's fine. Like, I just want to buy the cheese.
Yeah, we get it.
You know?
We lived in Japan. It takes you ages to actually buy cheese.
But I'm just reminded of a lot of the stuff that happens. There's a lot of stuff that is like very just like upsetting and real.
Well, should we talk about it in spoilers?
Yeah.
But yes, good movie, I reckon. It's on Netflix now.
No,
so if you
definitely,
if you like romantic movies, and you're looking for something not overly deep but like just genuinely good, you should check this out for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's like this has like been like a massive joy for me to watch, because I mean, if you look at my letterbox preceding what I've been watching until this movie, it's a lot of people dying and murdering each other. And a lot of so it's just like it's pretty refreshing to just sit and watch a really nice movie that has actually some bits that are more upsetting than those horror movies, but like that is actually genuinely nice, and it does have a happy ending.
Yeah.
That's a spoiler, but that's
And
fine.
I didn't mind the OST. I know it's not your jam, but it's got the typical kind of Asian R&B.
It does suit the environment. Yeah, it suits the environment, but it's just I just don't particularly like it.
MC Einstein, I think, it did a few tracks.
Some of the music's okay, but it's just like I don't know. It's just not my flavor, but that's all right. That's just like if I was to nitpick. But I think this is a fantastic movie that you should go. And there's a lot of craft. I think it's a good movie to study if you're an like aspiring filmmaker, making use of like set design and like making use of limited locations, I would say. And I guess how to shoot outdoors. Yeah. And I'm assuming Charlie Dizon and Carlo Aquino are like veteran actors, so they know what they're doing. Can't always get that kind of performance when you're working with certain people. Anyway, but great movie. Go watch it. It's good.
All right, let's do some spoilers, even though it's not a super spoilery movie, but...
not really. I mean, like, the stuff that happens in the everything that leads up to that, like, major confrontation, like... Because, I mean, at a point, like, Brittany, she finds out that her mother... She brings her mother back with the help of Carlo. She borrows some money from him, but she finds out that her mother has, like, creditors after her.
Yeah.
So she has to pick up extra shifts and stuff, and she has to beg the boss to give her some overtime work.
I like how the creditor is not like a guy with a jutted out jaw, like curb stomping her.
Shiva is like curb stomping,
It's just like a lady in thongs.
Yeah.
Which is equally intimidating, I would say.
Yeah. But that scene where it's like the two, I'm going to just call them Gen Z kids. It's like the Gen Z kids and the dad, and just throw it around this jar or whatever. And then the dad tells them off. But then it's like, the kids just blame, it was Brittany's fault. She did it. I'm like, oh, you little fucker. Like, And it just reminds me, like, this is a bit where, like, you can tell it's a movie, but it just reminds me of all the shit that you see that people post online, just like bullying, like blue collar workers.
Just really taking advantage of a customer's position of power in that situation.
I mean, we don't have it in Australia, but like, that Chipotle, like the burrito fast food joint in America. And like, about the whole filming them and it gives you like more food or whatever.
Sure.
And it's just like, it just really reminds me of that. I'm just like, man.
All those videos back in the day where people would go into a McDonald's and demand Szechuan sauce and just cause a ruckus.
And then it's like, you little fucker. And then like Carlo defends her. He's like, no, like she didn't, it was your kids. And they go, you calling my son's a liar? Yeah. But it is probably Carlo. Like I reckon this probably what he would have done in real life, man. Because they're married,
This is the type of movie where the characters and actors, they get, it's like whenever we talk about a Jackie Chan movie, it's just Jackie Chan.
But then that leads into like, they had to go to the office where the boss is there, and they have the fucking footage to like prove their innocence. But they're like, the guy's the big CEO of this fucking company or whatever, and it is just your boss not looking after your employees, because at the end of the day they don't really give a fuck about you. And again, this part kind of feels like it's a movie plot, but it just happens so much where people who know the truth and they have it there, that this is not hearsay, like this is the honest truth of what's caught on camera, and they're just like, nah, it's gonna fuck up the company's reputation. And like, I get that you want your fucking company to not have its reputation tarnished. And I think like it's probably what's going to happen to Mr. Beast. But they are such big conglomerates at this point that people are going to forget about it, So to just not release it and not look after your employee is just like, it really got under my skin. And like and that leads to that really good scene that we were talking about in the long take where...
Because Brittany, doesn't come to Alvin's immediate aid in that situation, so he gets upset. Understandably so, I would say.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think so.
It's one of those situations where it's kind of like, her actions are kind of understandable as well. But you get it why he's mad as well at the same time.
Yeah. I think that's a really well-written scene. It's sympathetic because you kind of have to look after yourself, because sometimes the cruel fact is maybe love is not enough, you know.
Yeah, maybe they both would have gotten fired if she stuck up for him.
Yeah. So, that leads to, like, I guess it's the confrontation between the two, but it's just, like, especially how they've plotted it and how much Alvin has helped the boss and spoken highly, and he says, like, that's just how it is, you know, like, sometimes, because I think Brittany is supposed to be like a Gen Zer, because, like, Charlie Dizon she looked like a 16-year-old girl in Fangirl.
I feel like they're both the same generation, but she is a bit more, initially
she's
at the start
got a Gen
of the
Z
film,
mindset, yeah.
She's a bit more like, you got to stand up for your rights, like, you can't let your boss take advantage of you and whatnot.
And I guess that's the arc, because then that's the conflict, right? She's kind of, she needs the money, and sometimes you can't win every battle.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, in Alvin's eyes, it's like when push comes to shove, like she backs down from her words. You know, like she's all talk kind of thing. And especially in this situation, because, you know, they are together. So in his eyes, she chose herself over them. Not him, but them, I guess. Yeah. So, which is, again, a really effective and real conflict that happens in relationships. Not my relationship. My relationship is having that. But no, it's super relatable, I think.
But just like all that shit in the workplace is like, oh man, that's rough. But it's pretty quickly resolved, which is the point where I was like, my criticism of it is this plot point where I think it's the heads of the office, they come in, and then they ask Brittany to come in, and then they're like, oh, so you're the one that broke this guy's jaw or whatever. And they're trying to get her to confess something. I don't quite remember the context.
Yeah, I think the incident that happened with that CEO guy kind of made them bring in upper management. And when they did a little bit of digging, they found some discrepancies in, like, what's happening.
In the payroll, that's it,
payroll-wise.
So then you find out that, like, the boss guy has been, like, paying all these other ghost employees to do extra stuff. And then Brittany's like, you're like, you motherfucker. And like,
he tries to throw Alvin under the bus because Alvin's been fired at this point. So he's like, it was all Alvin's idea.
And then he tries to throw another person under the bus as well. But basically, it's like, this is the moment where it's like, this feels like a film, because then she brings in all the other employees and there's like a mutiny. It's like, And she's like, say about this shit. It's like, I can just imagine Eddie. It's kind of like Eddie Murphy, Axel F style. It's just like, It's coming in, and it was, fuck you, boss guy.
It's something that you probably would not see in real life.
But I think the thing is, though, even if I do have criticism with that plot point, the alternative would just really be out of tone with the film. And I'm glad that it had a happy resolution, because there's I think I mentioned this other film. There's a British film by Ken Loach called, like, Sorry We Missed You. And it's basically about not Amazon driver. Right. And he kind of falls into a lot of discrepancies with his boss. So imagine, like, the feeling of the boss not standing up for you and then you getting screwed over. But that's the whole movie. And then it's like the ending to that movie is like just that, but then times 10. You're like, there's no escape. And it's just like, it's a really good movie, but it just like, it crushes my soul.
Bit of a downer, sure.
Because it's too real. It's too real. And it's like, so in this sense, it's like, that might not be what would happen, but in the movie sense, it's like, it works. Because, like, I don't want to feel like shit after all the stuff that, like, Brittany and Alvin.
And it works with Brittany Gatmaitan's arc as well. Yeah. She has strong beliefs in injustice at the start of the movie, but then she has a moment of weakness in the middle because she's poor as fuck and can't afford to lose her job. But then she, learns to stand up for her convictions once more in pretty dramatic fashion, admittedly. But it's good. You do a little fist pump because you want this asshole to get what he deserves.
I think that's fine. Yeah. And I think that's like what maybe drags the rom-com genre for me down, is that there's too many of those moments where it feels like disingenuous. But in this moment, it's like you watch them go through so much like shit, and you really like these lead characters. Like, yeah, just have a little bit of a Eddie Murphy, Axel S. Biff bump. Like, yeah, fuck you, man,
Yeah.
you piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then have that really cool synth theme song. But then, yeah, another bit which was I kind of found that was conveniently resolved is just like the creditor. It's just like the mum's like, oh yeah, we just had a deal and I get to pay monthly. It's like, yeah, cool, let's have a drink.
Yeah, pretty unnecessary. But at the same time, it's kind of like, because it's not completely resolved, right? Like she still has to pay her debt off, right?
Yeah.
But
but it's kind of like, yeah, cool. And
Yeah.
they're just like having a drink. Like, I don't know if you should be celebrating.
yeah, the victory is just a payment plan, really. Probably in the favor of the creditor as well. She's
Yeah, I
probably
think
going to
so.
get more
Yeah.
interest at the end of it. But I found that pretty interesting, actually, that they went for that as the victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than something a bit more of a decisive victory for the leads. Or with like even that they included that bit at all is a pretty interesting move because it is pretty unnecessary.
Yeah, I feel like they should have just let like it. They probably just wanted to make you feel a little bit better that stuff, because I think it might have been stronger if they didn't address it, that they still have those issues, but you know they're still pushing forward. You know, yeah.
I guess maybe they set the bar a bit high in terms of the initial debt. Like I don't know how much the exchange rate for pesos is, but the number sounded quite high, and judging from Britney's reaction, it is quite like an insurmountable sum of money to owe. So maybe for the sake of realism, they decided to put in that payment plan plot point. Because working double shifts is probably not going to be enough to pay that amount of money in such a short amount of time.
Yeah. And as much as like you get in your fist bump moment telling your boss to fuck off, like she needs to find work.
Oh, but then again, she demanded all that overtime pay, right? Or whatever.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
I don't know.
Would that be enough? Yeah.
I don't know pesos.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's like, but no, it leads to like a very nice kind of reconciliation scene at the end where, you know, Alvin, I was going to say Carlo again. Alvin is like, he's working as a janitor, and Brittany is one of those like spruikers.
Yeah.
Like selling, and it's just like it's a really nicely, cutely written scene where it's like the stuff that she's saying and it ties into the way it's like it's really it's quite good writing for this kind of romance movie. A lot of the dialogue is like it's natural, not natural, because most people probably aren't as maybe witty as these two at some points, but. It does make for a lot of entertainment, and it's pretty enjoyable. Yeah. So they make up. And
I think it's carried off by Dizon really well, especially in that last scene. She gets to do a bit of acting in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she cries when she needs to, and she laughs when she needs to, and she does both when she needs to in that last scene, which it's good. It's good stuff.
I think
I'm a fan, big fan.
I hope this movie does get whether our little podcast episode is going to bring more attention to this movie. Hopefully it does, because I actually do think this is a pretty underrated movie. Like the fact that I'd not heard about it. I don't know if they had like a super strong marketing team, and it was probably like very well received in the Philippines, but I think this is the kind of movie that can have like a pretty strong appeal to probably like all the Asians that watch Lan Ma, you know. I actually personally think I like this movie better than Lan Ma. There's just a lot. It's like it's a bit more subtle. It's cheesy enough and it's real enough. Yeah, it's just a really good film. And I hope like it does find, like, now that it's on Netflix, I hope it does find like a bigger audience. Because like I'm looking at the IMDb rating, like 6.6. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are like rating. It's like I think this is a fantastic movie.
I think this is maybe the kind of movie where people will watch it and just judge it based on its narrative. Maybe because it's kind of like it's a movie that appears simple, but
that's called media illiteracy, Dan.
Is it? Okay, is that what it's called? I didn't know there was a term for it.
I'm just being a snob here. Is that like people that have been conditioned to watch like Hollywood slop and then just watch this movie don't really understand how good this movie is. Even it's so simple.
Because narratively, it doesn't really bring anything new to the table.
No, not really.
It doesn't have to.
Like, it's so well executed, though. Yeah. I have been working in like the indie field for a while, you'll meet a lot of people who have really strong ambitions, and they really want to like say, I want to do this, but it has to be something new. It needs to be like a grand gesture. It has to be like fresh. But I think as I get older, it's like, that's just impossible. Just like kind of just do what you like. And then I think the quality of your skill and knowledge will make something fresh, you know? Because I feel like this is a pretty fresh movie, I guess, from what I've seen lately. Maybe it's not super fresh in the Asian cinema market, but it's I haven't seen a movie like this from the Philippines before. And there's probably plenty. Like, if there's any more, like, chuck it in the comments and I'll go check it out.
The two Filipino movies that I've watched so far have both been really, really good. So
I've seen a few at this point. But no, like, I can't really say any more praises to this movie. Like, it really, like, when I saw the trailer for it, I knew I was gonna like it, but then I really just like was just very compelled from start to the end. No pauses. It didn't even go pee during the movie. Just like, yep. So I'm gonna sit here and watch it in its entirety, and I mean, hopefully it gets the recognition it deserves, because I think this is a fantastic movie. Yeah, probably one of my favorites this year. Yeah,
agreed. But yeah, guys, what did you think of Third World Romance? Did you watch it a while ago? Because it has been out for a while.
I think so. Yeah.
Sorry we're late to getting to it, but you know we need to work with what we've got. We
didn't have access to it.
Yeah. But honestly, we'd love to check out some more Filipino movies in the future. If you have any recommendations, please do drop it in the comments, or you can get in touch with us at twoasianblokes@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook to be part of the conversation, or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at twoasianblokes to see what we're up to. Thank you, as always, for listening.
Then, guys. Yeah. Hopefully you've stuck around with us. Depending on how you've edited this episode, Dan, you might listen to 40 minutes of us complaining about things and waffling on about stuff. Yeah. But that's all right, because you have a lot of content to make shorts from. Yeah.
That's what's important, Thavy. That's why we do this. For those short-term serotonin boosts.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You wanted to cover a topic, and I just said nah. So
I want to talk about skibidi toilet, Thavy, whatever that is.
You want to talk about skibidi toilet, and I said no. We have to quality control this thing. So I ended up talking about Bleach's zankensoki action.
Yeah. Much better for SEO, I'm sure.
Much better. Yeah.
How do you spell zankensoki?
Zankensoki. It's SANKANSOKI. Zankensoki.
Sure.
Zankensoki action. Yeah. Anyway, we're fucking trailing off. All right. We'll let you guys go. And
see you guys.
Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy your afternoon, your evenings, your mornings, your twilight hours, whatever. Do as well. So
zankensoki.
Zankensoki action, man. Yeah.
Goodbye.
All right. Goodbye. Let's get out of here.